Hey guys, been a rough couple weeks. For anybody who doesn't know, I lost my oldest brother on Friday, and anybody who ever heard me talk about my oldest brother, they never really knew. I mean, I would always disclose the information, but the way I talked about him, you wouldn't really know that he had a disability. My brother had cerebral palsy all his life, and I was just treating him like my brother. I didn't treat him special. I didn't treat him as if he were handicapped. I argued with him just like I argued with my brother and my sister, my other brother and my sister. You know, I loved him so much. I didn't see that he sat in a wheelchair and couldn't move and couldn't do what I did. I just saw my brother that I love so much. But a couple weeks ago, I got a call that they had to take him to the hospital, and it turned out that he had a bleeding ulcer. He had blood clots in his leg and his lung. He had an infection in his bowel, and he just had a lot of issues. And he kept having seizures, and he hadn't had seizures in over 20 years. And so he kept having them, and then we slowly like started losing him. And mentally, he wouldn't be there. He wouldn't sit and talk with us. So he had a bad seizure this past Wednesday, and then he was just kind of out of it. And we found out the next day that he had a brain hemorrhage and he wasn't going to live. Um, so then we took him off the machines Thursday night, and he passed away around 1 p.m. on Friday. And I thought that losing my sister was the hardest thing I've ever had to do. And today was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. With my sister, sometimes it was a little bit easier to let go because she was gone a lot. So when she wasn't here, it was a little bit easier to deal with. But every day of my life, for the past 24 years, when I would be at home, I'd always see little Philip. And it's tearing me apart to know that he's not here. I don't know if any of you have ever had to lose a sibling, but I've had to lose two. And I don't know what it's like for my parents to have to lose two children. It's not supposed to happen that way. It's awful, and I miss him so much. I just want him to get mad at me one more time, to yell and scream at me, because he gets so mad at me sometimes just because I would go try to change the channel, or I didn't do something that he wanted me to do right then. He would cuss at me. Um, I like the F bomb a lot, but he couldn't speak like you and I. But he would get mad, and his way of saying the F word was fuggle, 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 and he would just whisper it under his breath and get mad and bunch up his fists, and he'd yell at me and tell me to go home. Go home, and I'm like, well, Philip, I live here. I'm not going anywhere. But today, at that point when the service is over and you're walking by the casket and you're saying your final goodbye, because that's the last time you're ever going to see that body, that shell. I looked at him and I had to tell him to go home. I told him that about 30 minutes before he died. I got real close to him and I put my head against his forehead and I told him, I said, Philip, it's time to go. Don't wait for us. Go. And then about 30 minutes later, he took his last breath. It's awful and I hate it. But I couldn't have taken care of his funeral services for my parents without the help of friends and people that I don't even know. And if you're watching this and you see this and you were able to donate or able to say a kind word or anything, especially the people who donated, I thank you so much, because I was so worried and stressed about not being able to take care of things. Thank you to everybody who took from their pocket to help my family. It means so much. People I don't know. And it's amazing to me to know there's still good people out there that really care, not just for themselves. So, thank you guys. Thanks to my family who's been amazing. My cousin Tana has been so wonderful throughout this whole process. And I love you, Tana. If nobody ever tells you that you're an amazing person, I'm telling you now that you are hands down one of the best people I've ever met in my entire life. And you give and give and give and don't care to give more. So thank you for being with us all week when Philip was going, and then being with us afterwards. I love you. I'm gonna miss my brother so much. Thanks for watching. God bless, guys.